I hope people aren't wearying. I'm trying to bring the best I can. This will probably be the most complete message that I know to do. There's more to it, but this is going to be the best as far as laying out the rules. There's a rule and there's an exception, and keep that in mind. First, we're going to go through the rule. Now, when we're talking about the world has no intention of keeping the commandments of God. It doesn't mean they're as bad as they could be, but they're not good at all. They're going to decide what's good, and they're going to decide what's bad. To the world, abortion is no big thing. Taking a human life from a preborn child means nothing to the world. But if you kill a 5-year-old child, then they're going to hold you accountable. So they determine what's right and wrong. But that's the world. The world has absolutely no intention of setting a day aside. To the world, time is money, which is an absurd. They show a complete lack of understanding. When the stores were open 6 days a week, people bought for 7. Now that the stores are open 7 days a week, people are buying for 7. They're not making any more money. They're just robbing families of their ability to get together on one day of the week where the whole family's together, stressing families out. Not only that, it's destroying the gospel in the sense that people are not getting into church. They have to work on that day. Now, I know people keep making excuses, but the excuses don't fly before God. It might make sense for men, not God. Well, there's 3 passages in the Old Testament that I want to bring up. There's more, but I'm going to bring up 3 major ones. Nehemiah chapter 10. And the rest of the people, the priests, the Levites, the porters, the singers, the Nephilim, and all they that had separated themselves from the people of the lands, the world, unto the law of God. There's a great separation between God's law and the world. Their wives, their sons, their daughters, everyone having knowledge and having understanding. And they clave to the brethren, their nobles, and entered into a curse and into an oath to walk in God's law, which was given by Moses, servant of God, and to observe and to do all the commandments of the Lord our Lord, and his judgments and his statutes. And that we would not give our daughters unto the people of the land, nor take their daughters for our sons. And if the people of the land bring ware or any victuals, that's food, on the Sabbath day to sell, that we would not buy it of them on the Sabbath or on the holy day. There's showing the distinction. There's a big distinction between the church and the world, and it's God's law. God's law is totally different from the world. Now let's go over to Exodus chapter 16, and where he's talking about the manna. And here's the rules for the manna. Now this is just before God put the laws in stone. When God first created everything, it was passed on from one generation to another. It came to a point in time, in order to preserve the truth, it was to be written down, and Moses was to write it down. Now this is just before he put it in stone, but it's not different. It's still God's law. God's law is his character. It's one portion of his character. The other portion of his character is the gospel. But you can't have one without the other. What would it be if Jesus was a liar? What would the gospel mean? It would mean nothing. The law is there. We have a holy God. Now we're in Exodus chapter 16. I'm not going to read the whole chapter. You can read it in your spare time. And then said the Lord unto Moses, Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no. God doesn't just say things to be saying things. Are you going to walk in God's law or not? He said, I'm going to do this to prove them. And every Sunday comes in, and God judges on that day whether you will or will not. And it shall come to pass that on the 6th day you shall prepare that which you bring in, and it'll be twice as much as they gather daily. And Moses and Aaron said unto all the children of Israel at evening, Then ye shall know that the Lord hath brought you out of the land of Egypt. And in the morning then ye shall see the glory of the Lord, for that he heareth your murmurings against the Lord. And what are we that murmur against us? Now we go down to verse 20. I don't know if I told you the first ones were Exodus 16, 4 through 7. Now we're going to go down to verses 20. Notwithstanding, they hearkened not unto Moses. But some of them have left it until the morning, and it bred worms and stank. And Moses was wroth with them. They were told to eat, get what you have for daily, and eat it. They let it sit, and it stank. And they gathered every morning, every man according to his eating, and when the sun waxed hot, it melted. And it came to pass on the 6th day, they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for one man. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. And they said unto them, This is that which the Lord hath said, for tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Lord. Bake that which ye will bake today, and seethe it that ye will seethe, and that which remaineth over lay it up for you to be kept until morning. And they laid it up until the morning, as Moses bade, and it did not stink, nor was there any worm therein. When God tells us something to do, he gives us the power to do it. And Moses said, Eat that today, for today is a Sabbath unto the Lord. Today ye shall not find it in the field. 6 days shall ye gather it, but on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, in it there shall be none. And it came to pass that there went out some of the people on the 7th day for to gather, and they found none. And the Lord said unto Moses, How long refuse ye to keep my commandments and my laws? I know people that think that this is all done away with. Somehow we got a different God today. He just totally changed his mind about his law. That's his character. Verse 29, See, for that the Lord hath given you the Sabbath, therefore he giveth you on the 6th day the bread of 2 days. Abide ye every man in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the 7th day. And so the people rested on the 7th day. I'm going to give you another passage here. And I would go to Deuteronomy chapter 5. This is the law in chapter 5. Deuteronomy chapter 5, verses 6 and 7. I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt and out of the house of bondage. You say you're a Christian? Then God has brought you out of the house of bondage of the world. Now here, they were in bondage to Pharaoh. But he's using that as a type or a picture. If you say I'm a Christian, you were brought out of sin, out of the world. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. 5 and verse 12. Keep the Sabbath day to sanctify it, as the Lord God hath commanded thee. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou. Now, this commandment is to you and me. But notice, he says, thou, nor thy son, that's 2, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, thy maidservant, thy ox, thine ass, nor any of thy cattle, nor the stranger that's within thy gate, that thy manservant and thy maidservant may rest as well as I. We're to care about others. He says that they may rest as well as I. If you care for somebody else besides yourself, and unfortunately there's too many people in the church, that's all they care about is themselves. There is no thought given for somebody in the stores and the restaurants on Sunday. They don't care 2 cents about them. It's what I want. That's all they care about. And remember that thou wast a servant in the land of Egypt, and that the Lord thy God brought thee out hence through a mighty hand and by an outstretched arm. Therefore the Lord thy God commanded thee to keep the Sabbath. You say you're a Christian. Remember that you were taken out of the land of Egypt, out of the world. Why should we remember that? So that we don't do what the world does. That's why we should remember it. So here's the rule. The day should be set aside. No commerce should be done. No work should be done. And work is what God says work is. Not what you say it is. Not what I say it is. Work is what God says it is. And now we're going to go to Matthew chapter 12. A lot of people totally misunderstand this passage. But what we're going to go through to this. Matthew chapter 12 and verse 1. We're going to go down through verse 8. And at the time Jesus on the Sabbath day threw the corn, and his disciples were hungry, and began to pluck the ears of the corn and to eat. But then the Pharisees saw it, and they said unto him, Behold, thy disciples do that which is not lawful to do upon the Sabbath day. But he said unto them, Have you not read what David did when he was an hungered, and that they were with him? How that he entered into the house of God, and did eat the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which were with him, but only for the priest. I'm going to just stop right there for a minute. Jesus is angry. Now, what we have here, he gives us an example. And the example's David eating the showbread. Now, if you remember, it was back in Samuel chapter 21, verses 3 through 6. I'm not going to read that right now. But Saul wanted to kill David. David reverenced the king. Saul was the anointed of God as the king. And David, a mighty soldier in his own right, could have killed Saul easily. Saul really had no idea. He was going after the wrong man. But David didn't want to do that. And so he fled. And he got to the point where him and his people were hungry. And so he came up and he asked for the showbread. Well, I guess we could read it. Let's go to 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel chapter 21, 3 through 6. Alrighty. Here David comes in and he says, Now therefore, verse 3, 21 and verse 3, Now therefore, what is under thy hand, give me 5 loaves of bread of my hand, or what there is present. And the priest answered David and said, there is no common bread under my hand, but there is hallowed bread. If the young men have kept themselves, at least from women. And David answered the priest and said unto him, of truth, women have been kept from us about these 3 days, since I came out, and the vessels of the young men are holy, and the bread is in a manner common, yea, though it were sanctified this day in the vessel. So the priest gave him hallowed bread, and for there was no bread there but the showbread that was taken from before the Lord, to put hot bread in the day when it was taken away. So there we have it. What are we dealing with here? We're dealing with an exception. So we have 2 things now. We have a standard. We have the rule of how to keep the Lord's Day. Sabbath Old Testament, Lord's Day New Testament. And we got a rule. Now here we have an exception. Now keep that in mind. We got a rule, we have an exception. So now Jesus is angry with these Pharisees. So what did they do? We're going to go back to Matthew chapter 12 here. What were they doing here? Why was Jesus so angry with these Pharisees? Because they did not recognize any exceptions. They didn't recognize it. You did the rule, period. It doesn't matter the circumstances. David, as far as the Pharisees are concerned, David should have ate nothing along with his people. They should have starved instead of eating the showbread. No exceptions. And there was something else they did in the New Testament. They also added to the law things that God never said to add to it. So that's what they were doing. That's where they are. So here's an exception. The Pharisees disallow it. Now what we've done today is we've flipped the script. And the exception has become the rule, and the rule has become the exception. People go out, we should be, if we go out into the stores and restaurants, that should be the exception. We have no other recourse. For whatever reason, we got to Sunday and there's no food in the house. There's an exception. Feed yourself. We've had a lot of different things over the years. I remember there's a video where it talks about the history of the blue law. Excellent video. There was times that if you took a nap on Sunday, you could be arrested for that. They would publicly shame people and things like that. But that's not what's happened today. The exception has become the rule. When we talk about the blue law, and I was talking to somebody and I said, I will bet you that people, these older people that are going out into the stores and restaurants, believe that the blue law is biblical. It is not. It was a compromised law. Try to tell the world and say that to eat on Sunday out in a store or restaurant is an exception. Try that. It's not going to work. Unfortunately, it's not going to work for people that profess Christianity today. But that's an exception. So the blue law was made. I got 1 second here. I've got a technical problem. It could be taken care of just in a second. All right. We've survived it. I remember as a kid, I wasn't a Christian at the time, but the Lord's never let me forget this. But some man had a business, an excellent business. He was doing good 6 days a week. Well, he decided he wanted more money, so he opened up his store on Sunday. A month and a half later, he closed it down. And you know what his argument, you know what his complaint was? There were no customers. Believe it or not, there was a day when church people did not go out into the stores and restaurants on Sunday. You could go out and you'd find the stores closed all over the place. There was a day they didn't do it. That's not today. We have so declined, and the commandment has been made void because they've taken the exception and they've made it the rule. And the rule, it's the exception. We flipped the script. I want people to understand that. Our God hasn't changed. His commandments still stand. And this idea that you can be saved and just wreak havoc with his commandments, so who cares what God says? You know, Jesus died on the cross, I'm going to heaven. Now I'm telling you what, Jesus died on the cross, and there are going to be a whole lot of people in hell, and there are going to be a whole lot of church people in hell. And Jesus died on the cross. That's a fact. Hell will not be wanting. I hope this would give you a better understanding. We have a rule and we have an exception. But the exception is not the rule. The rule is the rule. The exception is the exception. Don't buy, wear, and victuals on the Sabbath day. Old Testament, Lord's Day, New Testament. Jesus rose from the dead. The disciples gathered on the first day of the week. They collected money on the first day of the week. We got all these scriptures in the New Testament. So I hope this is going to be a blessing to you. And may God bless you. Add a like to help more people find it on the web. I see myself as a link in the chain of salvation. Damnation is forever. Salvation is of the Lord, and God is pleased to use us in this effort. It may be that the Lord will use something that you or I say that will bring someone to the knowledge of his need for Christ's forgiveness. Share with others, and subscribe for more videos.